Okay. Deuce and Shaq would far rather be on a basketball court than in a court of law. Yet they have had the courage to expose what happened to them in order to seek justice. When locker room behavior goes too far, beyond towel snapping, goes much beyond that, it's more than mere hazing. It's battery and it's sexual assault. When the behavior continues month after month, even after reports, it cannot be considered a right of initiation. Instead, it's crossed the line to harassment and to abuse. And when coaches and universities do not take adequate action to either prevent it from happening or to stop it from happening, they fail their student athletes. And they're complicit at that point in the abuse. And this is the behavior that brought us here today, that caused the filing of this lawsuit, that caused the firing of a coach, and that shut down a formerly really successful Division I basketball program. Deuce and Shaq are brave young men. It takes a lot of courage to be here. And they seek to right the wrong, and they speak out not only for their own benefit, not only to secure their own justice, but to help put an end to this kind of behavior in collegiate athletics. My name is Jolene Youngers. I represent William Benjamin, his son, William Benjamin Jr., known as Duke. And I am here with two other attorneys who are working with me on the case, Will Marsaw, Ramesh Shumaya, and they represent Shaq Udanu. What you're going to do now is hear from a number of different people. And we're going to start out with a woman named Bobby Green, who's offered to say a few words this morning. Ms. Green, would you come up, please? Oh, she's behind me. How convenient.
Thank you, Jolene. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bobby Green, and I am the president of the Doñana County NAACP. I'm a longtime faculty member here at NMSU and have been affiliated with this school for all of my life because I'm a native of Las Cruces. And we know that Las Cruces is a college town. We know that NMSU has been a part of our history from as long as I can remember. And so I think it is important not only for NMSU, for our students, faculty, staff, and all of the administrators, but it's also important for the city of Las Cruces that we stand and support our students. We cannot condone violence. There have been a number of incidents at this university which have tainted our reputation, and that pains me because, as I said before, I'm a native of Las Cruces. So what happens at this university is very important to me. I think we must support our students, but at the same time, we cannot condone violence, and I think we can do both at the same time. Our students, especially our student athletes, have a great burden. They represent the school. They're in their chosen sport. They're also in the classroom. Our student athletes have better grades, better GPA than student non-athletes. And so they carry a heavy load. And when it is time for us to stand up for these students as they stand for this university, then we have no choice but to stand up. And I'm very proud of these young men who have stood up. It took some courage to do that. So we must support them and at the same time recognize that we can solve this problem and be a more ethical, more moral, and more productive university for our students and for the community. Thank you.
And now we're going to hear from William Benjamin.
Good morning. How's everybody? Very unfortunate we got to meet at these circumstances. Hold the mic up. Hold the mic up. Okay. Please bear with me on this. Myself, my family, and many in the community are devastated by this. As a parent, we entrust this institution to, at the very least, protect the safety of the students. The expectation is that systems are in place that will hold individuals accountable for inappropriate behavior that could be detrimental to the students and to the university as well. Those systems can't always stop every bad actor or actions, but they can make examples and send messages. There should never be a culture of indifference nor apathy. We tell our children that there are expectations and consequences when those are not met. We also tell our children that there are rules and people that are in place to make sure things are addressed when things go awry. As a parent, I have been made to feel I was crazy for asking questions and having expectations of those questions being answered. My child has been failed. My family has been failed. And as a father, I feel like I failed my son for putting him in this situation. I'm sorry. As a former player at New Mexico State University, no behavior like this was ever present, nor would it have been tolerated at all. At all. This should have never been or should ever be business as usual. As a high school coach here in Las Cruces, New Mexico for the past 14 years, I would have never tolerated this or similar behavior at all. I don't understand, man. I don't understand. My players at the high school level know that all eyes are on them. And they know that they have a responsibility to uphold themselves to the higher standard here in the city of Las Cruces because of that. Not only are they a reflection of the school, they're a reflection of our community, and they're a reflection of their parents. Eyes are on them at all time. It is beyond my comprehension that this type of behavior not only existed, but was allowed and persisted with cover. I just want to thank you guys for coming out here. I see so many familiar faces, some that I remember from my youth, and some that thank God I can still see in my old age. I really appreciate your support for this. No one has a crystal ball, and no one bats 1,000. But we still hold people accountable for their actions and what it is that they do and they do not do. We still hold people accountable for their actions, for what they do and do not do. Thank you guys for showing up.
I'm a little nervous, but I don't really do speeches like this.
nervous. I won't be doing speeches like this, but
Can't hear you.
Speak up a little bit.
You're good.
Make sure you can, just so they can hear you.
I'm a little nervous, but just try to bear with me on this. Growing up, I've always wanted to be an Aggie. Growing up, I always went to all the basketball games when I was a kid, and I was a fan of watching Gordo Castillo and one of my idols, Joseph Garza. I worked very hard to get to this point, and my family made a lot of sacrifices to get me here, and I can't thank them enough, especially my pops. I was able to take advantage of the opportunities I got, especially the opportunity Coach Hire gave me, and I had success doing that. My dream turned into a nightmare real quick, and I never expected this to happen my freshman year. Now, because of the situation, I got to go a different route, and I got to start all over again. I got to start over my dream of becoming a Division I player, and because of that, I haven't been able to move on from this. But I want to be able to move on from this and go to a school that will just let me play basketball and let me be the person that I am. My life hasn't been easy ever since those events happened. First it hurts, then it changes you. There's a part of me that hasn't been the same now, and I want people to know that. I've changed. Slow down. Slow down. Come on. Finish it up. Finish it up. Finish it up. I'm good. Finish it up. Being able to go through this pain isn't easy, as you can see. But all you can do is weather the storm. All you can do is weather the storm and stay positive throughout this whole process. I'm proud of myself that I survived those days when I felt I couldn't. Pain makes you stronger, and I'm still fixing myself every day, regardless if the plan changes. I stay loyal to my purpose, and my purpose is to play at Division I school and to represent my city and the state of New Mexico. Thank you.
Next up is Shaq is going to give a little speech.
I just ask you guys to bear with me with this being the first time I've done this. Can't hear you.
Speak up a little bit.
I just wanted to ask you guys to bear with me. This is the first time. I just wanted you guys to bear with me. This is the first time I've ever done something like this. And I wasn't gonna have a statement prepared, but I feel like it would be better if I just spoke from the heart and really let you guys understand what really happened. And this, I'm gonna keep it brief and short. But there are still some things that I just don't feel like talking about. Being a freshman, me and Goose, our concerns shouldn't be our safety. Coming into our freshman years, our concerns. coming into our freshman years, our concern should be along the lines of, how are we going to play? How are we going to stay on the court? How are we going to be dominating this program? Not, are we going to be safe? And last year, I was a redshirt freshman last year with Coach Jans, and the culture was different. Nothing like this would ever happen. It was just, it was discipline. There was an authority figure. And it's just sad. It's just sad to see. Like, never in a million years did I ever think that something like this was going to happen. And, I'm Muslim. I was born and raised in a very strong Islamic household. And, being Muslim, you kind of approach situations and look at situations differently. So when this was going on, I didn't want to come out because, I was scared that if I did come out, I was going to tarnish and mess up those people, the people involved with the lawsuit. I was going to mess up their careers. But, it just got to a point where I just couldn't bear anymore. And it's just sad that my college experience had to go like this. And I really feel bad for Deuce because this is his hometown. He was born and raised here. That's not something you would expect. His dad is an Aggie legend, and then he comes over here and he has to deal with this nonsense. It's just a lot of things, and I hope that me and Deuce will have the strength to move past this and become dominant and whether in the next path we choose. But it's just that's all I want to say.
Thank you. My name is Ramez Shamia. I represent SHAC. We're going to open it up for any questions you have. So just, if you want to just raise your hand. Yeah, the players are not going to answer any questions. But if you all have any questions for the lawyer, specifically any of us, we're happy to answer any questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can answer this, but just from your perspective, when did SHAC decide to come forward? Because obviously Deuce and William went to the police and then SHAC joined the lawsuit later.
We'll answer the questions, but could you tell us who you are and your agency that you're with?
Yeah, of course. Rachel Phillips with ABC 7 in Elk Hospital.
All right, Rachel, based on the understanding that I have, after Deuce came forward, let's let that go by and I'll start over. First of all, I think I'm going to start again. When we looked at this spot in the weekend, we didn't see all this and hear all this. So we were just thinking convenient parking for y'all, but there we have it. Okay, so the question was, when did SHAC decide to come forward? I can't fully answer that for SHAC, but here's my understanding. SHAC had complained and reported back in November, December. Nothing happens. Suddenly everything blows up, and all of you know about that. Deuce and his father, William, go down to the New Mexico State University Police Department, make a report. Suddenly there's a press conference. The program is shut down. Now SHAC is saying, will I stand with it? So that's my understanding.
Blue shirt, clear?
Why don't we just go this way to make it easier?
You go first and I'll go. Jason Gross with the Las Vegas Sun News. I was wondering, Jolene, you just mentioned it a little bit, but were the athletes, did they have a full understanding of the processes that were available to them to report such a thing before it got to the point where, Coach Benjamin had to go to the police? Like, was the university transparent with student athletes so they knew what to do if something like this happened?
I don't believe they did. I also don't believe they felt that they would be supported, particularly after some overtures were made and nothing changes. So I don't believe they did. You know, what we see, Jason, all too often these days are businesses and governmental entities and schools who have great policies, perhaps, or procedures, and they're window dressing or their lip service. Because if people don't know about them and don't feel that they have the power to access them, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so Will and I held, just to further, this will help you, to give you a better idea of how the school is operated. We held a Zoom call with the general counsel of the university in February, and we were shocked. He had no clue in February what this was about. And it was almost to a point where we thought he was messing with us. Like, we thought he knew, but he was just trying to see what we knew. He had no clue. And so I think that gives you a good idea of how the school is operating.
Do you know the name of the general counsel?
Ron, and excuse me, Roy Collins. You're putting me on the spot?
Sorry.
You're good. You're good. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Go
Colin
ahead.
Deaver with KTSM in El Paso. Obviously, it's a civil case right now. Criminal charges are being looked at by the Attorney General. Do you have a sense of where that's at right now and when, if charges could be brought?
It's hard to say. They're kind of doing their own investigation and they make their own decisions. On any case that involves a criminal matter, they tend to just kind of go about their way, and we're there to support them with any evidence we find. But they have their own quarterback and coach, and they're doing it their way. I think that's the best way to see it.
I will tell you that I have spoken to the assigned special prosecutor and special investigator, and I am sensing a sense of urgency from them and a desire to get to the bottom of this. And I've been impressed and feel that they're very much supportive of digging as far as they can and figuring out the right thing to do. So they're energetic and committed.
Just as a follow-up to that, in cases like this that maybe either party has represented, what is maybe, I guess, the percentage of cases like this that starts in a civil case and maybe does turn into a criminal case, further down the line?
Gosh, Colin, I couldn't really tell you that for sure. Every case is different, depends on what the allegations are, depends on how law enforcement handles them from the get-go. So sadly, I don't have a good answer for you.
Y'all's presence helps. All of y'all's presence helps because it holds people accountable. So all of y'all being here is helping that process go forward.
Osvaldo from Munición, can you tell us about the lawsuit? What are you trying to gain from this?
Say it one more time.
The lawsuit, what are you trying to gain from this?
Okay, well, we're first of all trying to get some justice for Deuce, William, and Shaq. Their lives have been turned upside down, and in a very public way. So what we're trying to do is get them, New Mexico State's been talking about its fresh start. Well, this isn't going away. It's not erased. These gentlemen deserve fair compensation to get a fresh start, and they hope to change things along the way and to make them better. So that's our goal. That's our goal, to help them out. And in doing that, some of you have called for interviews and we've been pretty protective. And I'll tell you why. And it's because lawsuits over matters such as these can have a way of victimizing the victim yet again. And so we're cautious to treat them with the honor and dignity that they deserve and that they showed in standing up here today.
And then I'll just add one thing. The only way change goes about typically is through a lawsuit. And so by putting pressure on the university to make changes, to hold people accountable, there's going to be change. And so that's what we're trying to gain out of this. And then from a human standpoint, we want these kids to move on. So we're lawyers in a courtroom, but we're counselors outside of the courtroom. And that's fundamentally what we're going to do. We're going to counsel these kids, and they're kids. and we want them to move on with their lives, and we're going to try to help them do that. So that's my ultimate intention in this.
James King, KBOX 14, CBS 4, going El Paso. Obviously, press conference today. What is next for you all? What does that timeline look like in the next days, weeks? What can we expect?
Yeah, so from the litigation standpoint, the next step is we're waiting on the defendants to get served, and then they're going to file an answer. It'll most likely just be a general denial without getting too much specifics. They'll just deny all the allegations like they all do, always do. And then from there, we'll see, we'll have communications with our counsel, and we'll see how the case will progress. We'll get a trial date set, and then we'll move forward with the case.
And quick follow-up on that, have you all been paying attention to the letters that have been sent back and forth within NMSU, and did you have any sort of comment on
You're talking about from the Senate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you for that question.
Yes, I read the letter with great interest last night. I've been reading the letters from our cabinet secretary. I've been paying attention to what our governor's been doing. And I'd like to say to Deuce, William, and Shaq, they've already made a difference. But the letter in particular from the faculty senate tells me that this school's faculty is very concerned about what's going on. And it's concerned because there are a lot of hardworking people here trying to give students in New Mexico who have some great opportunities through the Opportunity Scholarship, other things, many of whom are first-generation college students. They take a lot of pride, and they are feeling bruised and battered by everything that has happened, and frankly, undervalued. And I appreciate and consider their letter to be support, to be caring about what happens in this community and at this university. So I appreciate that.
Let me just add one thing. When I read the letter, it just told me people care.
Yes.
And fundamentally, that's what you want in a community. You want people to care when people are wrong. And so when I read it, it just made me feel really good to know that there's a support system here for these kids. Go ahead.
I was actually going to ask about the letter, so I'm glad someone already did. But I think one of the major things, by the way, I'm
yeah, please.
KOAT Stephanie East up in Albuquerque.
Nice.
Since you guys have been working closely with the family and reading all this, there's been all these letters of support. What else needs to be done aside from these letters, and are you guys concerned with the renewal of the contract of the current athletic director?
I was shocked to find out he was given that extension. Shocked. Shocked. And then came the support from you guys. And so, again, thank you for that. I was shocked. As far as the letter, keep going. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's
yeah. Keep to the faculty. If you support these kids, keep going. Keep making statements. Keep being brave. That's what they can do.
What more can be done?
From who?
From the university.
Well, we're not entirely sure what has been done. We do know the university's under an obligation to do a Title IX investigation. We've been told through the media that there are multiple investigations that have gone on. We had the cabinet secretary of higher ed say, you need to start investigating. And guess what? For the first time, someone reached out to Shaq. Yesterday, May 2nd. And nobody's reached out to Deuce yet.
From the school?
Right. In terms of, as soon as I notified the school of my involvement, I said, I imagine you need to speak with them. Let us know. And he has not been questioned yet. So what I think hasn't happened yet is the school has failed to meet its obligations under Title IX unless there's a whole lot going on that I don't know about.
Personally, sorry, one more. From obviously attorney's point of view and representing the families involved in this, what would you guys like to see happen to Mario Mocha right now and in his current position that he's in? Should he be able to continue to be in that position after all of what we've heard today?
Look, at the end of the day, we all maintain the position that a person is innocent in this country until proven guilty. That, of course, is the bedrock of our legal system in both criminal matters, of course, and civil matters. As far as the current athletic director, we have our own investigation that is trying to determine his level of, number one, knowledge, most important, and number two, his level of action or inaction, if you would. So, as far as the athletic director is concerned, what we would like to see happen is for us to get more information and for him to be more forthcoming. And at the end of the day, he represents this community, this school, and certainly this athletic department. And just as a matter of good conscience, I don't speak for him, obviously, but it may have been a good idea to tell his then boss, hey, let's get through this first. There's plenty of time for me to extend this contract. I've got a year left on my current deal, and we can talk about that once we've gotten through the shooting. Because as I understand, that's still not resolved. And then certainly what's going on with the two gentlemen that you see behind you. Sir?
Yeah, so I'm Johnny Coker with KRWG Public Media, and sort of staying on that topic about Mario Mocha, at a press conference after the shooting in Albuquerque, the incident with the Mike Peake and the UNM students, he told us at a press conference, that he upped the level of oversight of the basketball program after that. And it seems like, just based on everything that's happened, that he failed in that.
Well, I think there's some information. If I'm correct, one of the first allegations that we've made actually happened before the shooting. They were very close in time. So now what I don't know, as he spoke to you, I live in Texas, I live in Dallas. As he spoke to you about the shooting, I don't know if he was informed of the allegations that our student athletes have made and are making, but I do know Coach Heyer knew at the time. So I would imagine they would have worked together if there was new information that Coach Heyer had, but I don't know the answer to that.
Are these athletes looking for colleges to continue playing basketball? Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Absolutely. Neither of these young men are 20. And I have stopped myself from referring to them as kids, but that's kind of how we see them. And Deuce hasn't really in real time completed his first year as a freshman, and Shaq's experience was a little bit different as he redshirted last year, so he was here, but he didn't have full participation with the team as if you're actively playing, and they're pretty good, or they wouldn't have been recruited here in the first place. And all of you who are local, you know Deuce is really good. And so they haven't intimated to us that they want to discontinue. But I will say this, unsolicited, the process generally, when a new coach comes in, that person talks to the kids that he has on the team, says, hey, look, this is my expectation, this is what I do, this is what I'm about, here's what I was like at my previous institution. This coach, I know he hasn't spoken to Shaq once. Shaq wasn't invited to any workouts. He was ostracized. And the current coach, God bless him, but generally the coaches will come in, they'll talk to all of the current young men on their team, or young women, depending on the sport. And that hasn't been done, and I don't know if that was done for Deuce, but so there are a lot of things that are not in the continuous flow of how this normally works at other Division I institutions.
You guys have spoken about accountability, and I think you mentioned a jury trial. Like, are you aiming for a jury trial, or is a settlement something that's more realistic?
We know the vast majority of civil cases settled. We're preparing the case to go to trial, as we always do. If there's an opportunity for a good settlement that matters to these young men, that helps right some wrongs, we're open to it. If not, we'll go through and we'll try this case. But I mentioned earlier, Jason, the concept of you don't want the litigation to become the second victimization of your client. And so if we were able to resolve the case sooner, get these guys back out on the basketball court, that would probably be the very best thing for them. But we aren't fully in control of that process. Are we open to it? Of course.
Just with you, Julian, to follow up on what he was talking about, I know the state has asked the school to open another investigation into maybe conversations that Coach Hooten had with Deuce that may have been perceived as retaliatory. Do you have comment on that as well?
It's a little bit tricky, Colin. It's a little bit tricky to talk too much about that conversation because I wasn't part of it, but there was a conversation between Deuce and Coach Hooten where it was made clear to Deuce it would be best for him, in the coach's eyes, to move on. And I believe William Benjamin would like to address this issue as well.
I was present, just like I said, I see the faces here, and I was present at Coach Hooten's hiring, his press conference. I was just as excited as everybody else to meet him. Some of the former players and alumni gave me the opportunity to meet him, so we spoke briefly. During that conversation, we were supposed to meet with each other once he got settled and more acclimated to the city of Las Cruces. Final Four was going on, NCAA tournaments going on, that nature. So I was under the impression that we would have a conversation as far as what direction he wanted to go as it pertained to my son. I thought me being a alumni, Hall of Fame, person in the community, I would get that conversation, and I never did. And he saw my son practicing in the gym, and he spoke to him without me being present, and basically informed him that it would be in his best interest to go make a name for himself someplace else. And that's his choice, and that's fine. But I would have thought that he would have stuck with us having a conversation as a family, and him saying the same thing would have been fine as well. I wish I would have been able to have been present for that conversation, but unfortunately I wasn't.
I'll just follow up if I could, Coach. Like, do you want Deuce to move on from this university, or did you want him to have a chance to come back and play for Coach Hooten?
Like I said, I was excited like everybody else when Coach Hooten got the job. My whole thought process was, it's a whole new coaching staff. It's a whole new beginning. It's a whole new start. And so, you know, I thought we would have that opportunity, just the opportunity to see if Deuce could still remain an Aggie. You know, and I'll say this and I'll stop. You know, I had the privilege of meeting Coach Lou Henson. He spoke at my banquet 2013 for when we won our first state championship in over 30-something years in the city. We've been through 5 different coaches, you know, from Reggie Theus to Coach Weir to Marvin Menzie to Coach Jans and now Coach Hyatt. Deuce has been involved with this program and with his whole life. He's an Aggie. He's an Aggie. So this notion of Deuce going someplace else is, I don't know where that comes from. Deuce was always going to be an Aggie. I played at New Mexico State. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I graduated from New Mexico State. I have my master's from New Mexico State. You see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm going with it? Deuce was going to be an Aggie if he was good enough. If he was good enough, right? We're not talking about a kid who made all district his senior year and whose dad is a coach who played for an Aggie. We're talking about a kid who has some accolades. The best player in the state of New Mexico for 2 years in a row. Gatorade Player of the Year. Only lost 3 games in 4 years. Played in a state championship 3 out of 4 years and won a state championship. We're not talking about no chopped liver, man. He's done everything he's supposed to do as far as committing himself and dedicating himself to be an Aggie or to play Division I basketball. We're talking about New Mexico State here. We're not talking about North Carolina and Duke. We're talking about a mid-major school. And we're talking about a young man who's done nothing but dedicated himself and committed himself to play for New Mexico State University. Some of it is because of his daddy. But I've had nothing but positive experience at that school, and I'm not talking basketball. I've met good faculty, I've met good professors. New Mexico State has changed my life. That's why I'm still here. It's allowed me to be able to have a job and be able to raise a family in Las Cruces, New Mexico. You know, so that, you know, and now we have a new coach and you're going to say he's not good enough to play up there? I don't believe that. I don't believe that. So when given the opportunity, he did what he was supposed to do. That's all we ask for is an opportunity. Ain't nothing given to nobody in this world. But I don't think that you're supposed to press the reset button and lump in the victims with everybody you're getting rid of. I think that the victims deserve a little bit more sympathy and empathy for the situation that they've been through and for everything they had to endure over the 3 months. We're not talking about a one-time occurrence and then somebody told the coach. That's what I'm talking about, accountability. This thing was going on for several months. And let's not lose sight. New Mexico State has a murder on their resume. As a parent, I was never even called about that. Just to reassure me that my son's going to be okay. You know, so as a parent, there's certain things that we have to do for our kids. We love our kids. We provide for our kids. And then we protect our kids. You know, and they didn't, you know, and obviously when they didn't reassure me in November over a shooting and a murder, I didn't get any reassurance after that as well, and here we are now. So, I'm sorry, getting a little bit emotional. I'm probably talking too much.
Nothing to be sorry about.
I'm probably talking too much, but I hope I answered your question.
I'm Jack Nixon with Bravo Mike. I guess it's for you, Jolie, or William, if you want. There was a OIE report about an incident in December about a staff member. I believe it's referenced in your lawsuit. What was Deuce's role in that?
An OIE report in December?
The OIE report about a staff member having something similar happen in December. And Deuce was involved in that, according to the OIE.
I'm not aware of anything about an OIE report involving Deuce.
The school reported it in
right after it happened.
Okay, I don't know what has been reported to OIE and what the status is, other than what I've read in some news coverage. So I did send a Public Records Act request asking for information and received very little in response to date.
Thank you.
Rachel, was ABC7. You kind of mentioned former Chancellor Dan Arvizu without saying his name. He left his post a few months before it was due to end. What do you think about him leaving? Do you think that was kind of just a scapegoat to get out of all of this before it kind of came to fruition?
I frankly have no idea, Rachel. It's kind of like the comments about the athletic director. We do not know yet. You know, certainly in litigation, the old entertainer's adage, timing is everything, comes to mind. But I'd be merely speculating.
Oh, guys, thank you again. You're making a difference by being here, and thank you for all showing up. All the people that have nothing to do with the news in the back, thank you guys. Thank you all.
Can we just get the attorneys to say and spell their full name for us?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So my first name is Ramez, R-A-M-E-Z. Last name is Shamieh, S-H-A-M-I-E-H. If you have any issues, just go to the petition. It's on the petition.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Will Marsong, W-I-L-L. Somebody else? M-A-R-S-A-W.
Jolene Youngers, that's J-O-L-E-E-N, last name just like it sounds with an E-R-S on it, Youngers. Thank you. And I'd like to echo, thank you for following this story, to all the media, for all the people in the community and from the school. Thank you for caring. It matters.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks again, and we'll obviously this will be ongoing. Someone asked a question about settling, and just Jolene is our point here. Just submit questions to her office, and again, Ramez and I information are on the complaint as well. But I wanted to thank you all for your time and your questions.